My Bigfoot sighting happened when I was 8. We were going out to our lake lot at Lake Palestine as little kids, and we pretty much ran wild out there. It was really heavily wooded, and we always had the best time and had so much fun and never had any concerns of anything bothering us. But the adults would tease us from time to time and tell us to watch out for boogers, which we just thought they were teasing us and didn't even know what that meant. But as we often did, we were out prowling around out in the woods all by ourselves, just a bunch of us kids. And with the sunlight behind it, out from a tree stepped what I thought was a monster. It was, as a kid, I would say it was probably about 6.5 feet tall. It was not big and heavy like you hear described. It was lean and hairy. It had its arm around one tree and just stepped out and was backlit by the setting sun. And you could see the hair coming down off its arms. It wasn't like real long like an orangutan, but it was long enough that you could see the hair out of the one outstretched arm. It had long legs. I do not remember a domed head. It just had like a normal head. The only thing was it was all covered in hair. I want to say maybe about 4 or 5 inches long looking. It wasn't super thick or lush hair. It was a reddish, dark brown. I didn't get a good look at its face because we all just screamed and turned off and ran. And we had these little motorbikes. And I remember getting on a motorbike with my friend, and we were taking off so fast down those gravel roads that we took a turn too fast and ended up wrecking. And my friend laid that pipe down on her leg, and she still has a scar to this day where that motorbike burned her. I remember going back and, kids, we were just frantic and everything, and the adults just laughed it off. And I just remember after that, we weren't as free to go, or we didn't feel, our parents still would let us do whatever we wanted, but we didn't feel like we wanted to go prowling around way off away, and we ended up staying real close to the camper after that. And I don't think we ever went back to that lake lot after that. I don't have any memories of going back there after that time. My next encounter happened as an adult in North Texas, and I had a wreck and didn't have my truck anymore, so I was borrowing a vehicle from a family member, and I worked at night quite a ways away from home, and I had to return the truck that I was borrowing, so it was too hard to just go home and lay down for like an hour and then have to get up and return the vehicle, or an hour and a half. So what I would do was drive the vehicle back to the family member's house and then walk back to my home out in the woods about 2.5 miles away. And I had done this many times with no problem. I always prowled around at night all my life. I have a big outdoors person, no fear of darkness or woods or anything like that. And I didn't even have a flashlight because there was enough moonlight that you could see the gravel road just fine. And I'm walking down the road and I get to the patch of woods going to my house, and I start to feel like I'm being watched and get a real bad foreboding sense. And I'd had that before, different places out prowling around in the woods, and I always just moved out of the area and never gave it a second thought. But this was a lot stronger and a lot heavier. So I just picked up my pace, and then the next thing that happened was gravel started getting thrown like a couple of feet ahead of me. And my stomach it just sank. I thought, oh, please, please let me have somehow kicked that up. And then I keep walking and it happens again. And I know for sure now that it wasn't me. Something's throwing gravel in front of me. And it sounds funny, but I have no idea at that point in my life that, anything could be out in the woods after me. So I thought it was some kind of spiritual thing, like a wood spirit or something messing with me. I didn't know what to think. I just knew I didn't want to panic. So I just kept walking and said in my head, ignore it, just ignore it and keep going. And as soon as I thought that, then I start hearing footsteps in the woods beside me, paralleling me as I walked. So I would walk a little bit and stop, and I'd hear one more step in the woods. After I stopped, it would stop. I would start up again. I could hear it doing it again beside me. And we're talking like maybe 20 feet, 25 feet next to me. And I'm staring as hard as I can into the woods in the dim light. And I can see that there is no way a person could be walking through all that thick brush in the dark. It's just not possible. There was no trail there. And I'm starting to get a lot more frightened at this point, which I'm not used to. But I'm coming up to this hayfield to where whatever is paralleling me would have to come out into the open. The hayfield is not very big, and there are woods leading up to it. There are woods behind it, and then there are woods in front of it. So just the little section by the road is free of a lot of trees. So I thought whatever this is definitely going to have to come out into the open when I get to this field. And I got to it, and I could hear it going down the wood line to get to the woods behind the field to stay in cover. At this point, I'm starting to get angry and thinking, I don't know what this is, but I don't want something following me. So I start to yell, thinking, maybe this is just some animal. Already like putting out of my mind the gravel that had been thrown at me because I don't know how to process that. And it's back in that backwoods and it's still following me. So I still have a ways to go to get to my house, and I wanted to put a stop to this. So I stop and start yelling at it very aggressively, trying to dissuade whatever this is from following me. And at that point, everything just got crazy. I heard this god-awful sound that was kind of like a chuff, a growl. It's hard to describe, but it was definitely nothing I'd ever heard before. And that really put the fear into me. So I start doing the only thing I know to do. I've worked with, large animals. big cats, dogs, everything. And so I know I can't run because that would just make me a target. So I know I have to stand my ground. So I get super aggressive in my yelling. And that's when I just hear all this crashing and it's coming for me, but I can't see what it is. Now there is tall grass in this field, but it's only about to my chest level. And whatever this is sounds so big, I don't understand why I can't see it. Then it gets all the way, close to me, like within 25 feet again, but this time in the field. And I can see there's some Johnson grass right by the edge of the fence. I can see the grass getting moved like something is there, but I can't see anything. And my mind is just melting at this point because I don't know how to process this, what's happening. I'm afraid to move. I feel frozen because I don't still understand if it's just somehow staying hidden or if it's just invisible. It seems like I can see something disturbing right there, but I can't make out what it is. And the grass is moving and you can hear it rustling like it's right there in front of me, but yet I cannot see anything. So I start to yell again, but then think better of it. And I just don't know what to do. I'm frozen in fear. And then I think, oh my gosh, just up the road there is a house with a bunch of big dogs that are always like a terrible nuisance. But I thought, oh, if I can just make it to there, they'll come out barking like they always do and scare off whatever this is. So I take off walking towards that way and I hear more moving in the grass in that hayfield. And I'm so scared. I've never been that scared out in the woods in my life. And I get to the house where the dogs are normally always, every time, come rushing out to bark and race Cain at the end of the road where their house is, and nothing. No dogs, not a peep out of them this whole time, even after me doing all that yelling and carrying on, which should have just brought them out instantly. And they don't make a peep. They don't come out. Wherever they are, they have stayed holed up and hiding. And that just scares me even more. So I stand at that house and I'm kind of afraid to go further to my house because once I pass that house, there's nothing until I get to the several hundred acres where my house is at. So I'm standing there for a while and then my mind just goes blank and I do not remember getting home. I do not remember anything that happened after that. All I can remember is that after that, I did not feel safe out there anymore. I didn't enjoy living out away from everything, and I just wanted to go back to the city that I used to live in. And within a few months, I moved back and left. And ever since then, I just have lost that peace and serenity that I used to feel out walking in the woods at night or being out at night alone where it's peaceful and quiet and enjoying nature. And to this day, I'm back now living in the same area. And now I'm having knocks on my house from time to time. And about 2 weeks ago, I noticed a tree in my backyard. I'm 5'10", and I reached my hand up and I couldn't reach it. There is a branch that's just been twisted off, and there's no branch anywhere on the ground. Like, the branch is just gone, and it's been like violently twisted off. That makes no sense. And then we just got the field mowed, but there is some still tall grass near the edge of the fence, but where you can't get a brush hog. And I see a path going down from the back of the yard all the way up to the back porch, where I often sit out at night to smoke in the dark, where it's peaceful and I don't turn on any lights because I don't want to draw up bugs. And I noticed, before I'd noticed all this, that I'd kept hearing these weird owls. I thought, what in this world is that? It sounds like an owl, yet it doesn't. I would feel really creeped out about it, but I just would put it out of my mind and think, well, maybe it's just an owl that sounds weird or something. But then again, I do get these horribly loud bangs on the side of my house. I have a brick house, and I don't know, it goes up, 10, 12 feet before you get to the wood siding underneath the A-frame of the house. And the only way it could be making that loud of a bang is if it's hitting up on that wood, because you couldn't make that loud of a bang on the brick. Now, my house backs up onto thousands of acres. There's all kinds of tanks and woods behind my house, and I just really want to know what's going on and to just be able to be outside at night in peace.